right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and let's go. Welcome to Heartland Championship Wrestling here on the Epic Sports Broadcasting Network. My name is Dave Little, and we are coming to you live from the Dave Cave with action from the Atlantic Wrestling Federation. It is a Saturday night show, although we're getting it on the air on Sunday. So it is a big show from Orlando, Florida. Our main event this evening will be a rematch for the Atlantic Heavyweight Championship as the new champion, Nick Aldis, defends against the former champion, Terry Bam Bam Gordy. Should be a very exciting main event. Also tonight, grudge match action, Leo NOMELLINI in a grudge match against RENE GOULET after their match in the 2025 Hall of Fame tournament spilled over into a disqualification finish. They are going to get it on here tonight in Orlando. Tag team action will also take place. A number one contenders match for the Atlantic Tag Team Championship will put the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, Tommy Rich and Tracy Smothers, in against Perry Saturn and John Cronus, the Eliminators. All right, so lots of great action here tonight on the channel. We had some preliminary matches. Actually got the opening matches out of the way yesterday, but some other stuff going on at the house prevented me from getting live onto the air. But the show opened with Eric Young in action in our opening contest, picking up a victory over Tom Jenkins by way of the Spike Pile Driver. Eddie and Chavo Guerrero were next in tag team action, and it was a battle as they took on the team of Bad Company, Pat Tanaka and Paul Diamond. Very exciting match. Chavo was dead to rights a couple of times. But Eddie was able to get in and make the save, and it was Eddie who got the pinfall victory over Pat Tanaka after hitting Tanaka with the frog splash. Probably one of the best. If there was an award for a non-televised match of the year, that may be the winner, because that was a great match between those two hungry young tag teams. Then we saw another match that I would love to see in real life. Not sure if this has ever happened, but it was Kenta taking on Pac. And I would love to see those two square off in real life, especially peak Kenta from back in the day. And Kenta did get the victory over Pac with the game over. Pac with a lot of physical tools, but Kenta the experience and the striking ability prevailed in that contest. And just before we went to air, a very interesting match between Frank Gotch and the one-man gang. Gotch had the submission game working, but Gang would not be subdued. And it was one-man gang by way of the 747 splash getting the victory over Frank Gotch. All right, and that brings us to tonight's televised matches. So if you are tuning in from the replay on YouTube, we thank you for tuning in. We had somebody in the chat room here momentarily, and there's nobody in the chat room at present, but we are going to go ahead and get it on here in Orlando. Looks like Dave Gardner is also on with some season ticket baseball, and I'll probably finish up here and jump over and watch Dave, but I didn't want to miss broadcasting this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, your opening televised contest is scheduled for one fall with a 30-minute time limit. Disqualification rules will be in effect for this one. Introducing first out of Tampa, Florida, right down the road, standing at 6 foot even, weighing 250 pounds. This is the Brandon Bull, Paul Orndorff. And his opponent hails from Roanoke, Virginia. He stands at 6'2" and weighs 250 pounds. This is Tony Atlas. So Tony Atlas to take on Paul Orndorff in our opening contest here tonight from the Dave Cave. The winner of this match will move on to a #1 contenders match where Blackjack Mulligan is waiting. So once the issues are settled between Nick Aldis and Terry Gordy, they'll have one of these three men to contend with, Atlas, Orndorff, or Mulligan. And tonight, Atlas and Orndorff will battle it out to see who will be next in line for a contenders match. And as they come together in the center of the ring, it is Tony Atlas taking control. And it is Atlas with a whip to the ropes. Off the ropes comes Paul Orndorff, and on a roll of 10, that is the running double clothesline. The wrestler with a better ropes rating recovers first. The ropes ratings are even, so it will be Tony Atlas in control here. And Atlas going right to prevent Orndorff from getting out of the ring. Orndorff took that shoulder block and wanted to get out of the ring. Atlas hauls him back into the ring, and now he's going to attempt to lock on a bear hug. Atlas a little bit stronger than Paul Orndorff. Orndorff doesn't see too many men with more upper body strength than he has, but Tony Atlas is one of them, and Atlas is going to attempt to lock in the bear hug here. And on a roll of 6, he's got the bear hug locked in, and Orndorff is standing his ground. Atlas not slowing Orndorff down at all with that bear hug. So he's going to try a different tactic, a high hip toss that takes Orndorff over and down to the canvas. Orndorff getting to his feet. Atlas is on him. And Atlas wants to go back to that big bear hug, and this time Orndorff will power his way out of the bear hug and just nail Tony Atlas upside the head with the right hand. Neil Lau first in line at the turnstile. Welcome, Neil. They come together in the center of the ring, and it is Atlas capturing a side standing headlock. But Orndorff quickly reverses that and takes Atlas down to the canvas with a step over armbar. Atlas down to one knee. Orndorff stays on him, and now an elbow smash to the head delivered by Orndorff, stunning Tony Atlas. And another big right hand punch by Orndorff. Atlas has had about enough of that, and it is Atlas who is going to take Paul Orndorff back down to the mat with a test of strength. Again, not many men who can outduel Paul Orndorff in a test of strength, but Atlas is one of them. And now as Orndorff gets to his feet, Atlas goes into the air and nails a big dropkick onto Orndorff that stuns Orndorff. Jay Randis now moving into the to the chat room as well, as Atlas again wants to go back to the bear hug, and Orndorff is not having any of that. And this time it is Orndorff who hoists Atlas up into the air with a high vertical suplex and holds him there momentarily before slamming Atlas down to the canvas. Atlas slow to get to his feet. Orndorff is on him with a whip to the turnbuckle. And as Atlas bounces off the turnbuckle, he lifts a knee to the head of Orndorff, and Orndorff now is stunned. Hello, Kathy Evans. Thank you for joining us here tonight. Tony Atlas now on to the offensive with a whip to the turnbuckle of his own. And Atlas with a big kick to Orndorff coming off of the turnbuckle. And now he's going to go back and try the bear hug again. And again, Orndorff powers his way out of the bear hug. And it is Orndorff now with another big vertical suplex. And bang, down to the canvas goes Tony Atlas. Orndorff going to try for the cover. The pin roll here will be 2. But on a roll of 8, it is Tony Atlas who kicks out. Orndorff still on the offensive. Is going to go up for a death jump. Death jump coming up by Paul Orndorff. And on a roll of 9, he nails a flying double axe handle off of the top turnbuckle. And Atlas once again is down. Orndorff now is going to pitch Atlas out of the ring, and here we go. Orndorff with the better ring rating. And on a roll of 7, it is Orndorff winning the brawl on the arena floor. And let's see exactly what happened out there as we get our out of the ring action cards back in play. And the brawl was won by Orndorff with a body slam onto the arena floor. Atlas not very happy about that as Orndorff now moves in and hits Atlas with another big back suplex, working on the lower back of the Olympic Mr. Olympia, Tony Atlas, and now repeated stomps to the back. Atlas slowly getting to his feet, and as they come together now, it is Atlas again with a whip to the ropes. Off the ropes comes Paul Orndorff, and on a roll of 7, it is Atlas with a big high back body drop that sends Orndorff down to the canvas. Atlas follows that up again with a whip to the turnbuckle, and another big kick delivered by Tony Atlas to stun Paul Orndorff. And now Atlas nails the jumping headbutt. That's going to leave a mark as Orndorff is staggered. Atlas stays on him. Double chops to the neck. Atlas doing some punishment here. More double chops to the neck. The crowd is behind Tony Atlas as he is chopping away. Now some roundhouse punches delivered by Tony Atlas. And now a high hip toss by Atlas takes Orndorff over and down to the canvas once again. More chops delivered by Atlas. Orndorff gets to his feet and again takes Atlas down with a nice move and goes back to that step over armbar. Orndorff holding the armbar as Atlas tries to get to his feet. And Orndorff just nailed Atlas with a stiff knee to the chest as Atlas got up to one knee. Orndorff just put it right to him, and Atlas is going to roll out of the ring and down to the arena floor in hopes of recovering. Orndorff not going to let that happen. Orndorff stays on him and drops Tony Atlas throat first onto the steel security railing. Orndorff going to the rough stuff here in an effort to gain control. And now it is Orndorff with another big back suplex that plants Tony Atlas in the center of the ring. Orndorff stays on him, another big right hand punch. Atlas now is going to fire back and try to take Orndorff in a side headlock. Orndorff fights that off, and Orndorff now goes back to the armbar. Again, trying to do something with those big, massive arms of Tony Atlas. Not having much effect there. And now it is Atlas who is going to come back and score with another big roundhouse punch using that free hand to the side of the head of Orndorff. And Orndorff is stunned. Atlas with a big drop kick nails Paul Orndorff, and now it is Orndorff's turn to roll out of the ring and down to the arena floor. But on the arena floor again, Orndorff will prevail with a DDT onto the concrete floor. That is nasty. But he will not be disqualified for that. They roll back into the ring. Orndorff now in control, going to go back up for another death jump. And this time Atlas caught him. Orndorff climbing the ropes a step slow. Atlas caught him and threw Orndorff down to the mat in the center of the ring. Orndorff now is down. Atlas with a chance to do some damage. He tries to drop the elbow, but Orndorff rolls out of the way of the elbow drop, and Atlas eats the canvas. Orndorff now back in control. Another brutal knee lift delivered by Paul Orndorff. Atlas again staggered by that. And here comes Orndorff with a short arm clothesline that staggers Tony Atlas. Orndorff is taking control here. It's been back and forth. Here's another big right hand from Orndorff. And again, Atlas is going to fire right back and catch Orndorff in a standing side headlock. Atlas trying to get a little rest here as Orndorff has been dealing out some punishment, forcing Orndorff down to one knee. And now it is Atlas with a whip to the turnbuckle. Al, Red Sox fan, joining us here as Orndorff bounces off of the turnbuckle and sees Atlas coming in, and Orndorff lifts a knee to the head of Tony Atlas, and Tony Atlas once again is stunned. Here is Orndorff with another brutal knee lift. Orndorff just punishing Atlas with those knee strikes. And now another big right hand from Orndorff. Atlas fires right back with a high hip toss once again. Both men to their feet. They come together in the center of the ring, and it is Orndorff attempting to grab a chinlock, but Atlas powers his way out of that. He's going to try to go back to the bear hug, and again, Orndorff is not going to fall prey to the bear hug. Gosh, we've had just a series of reversals, one after another. And now it is Orndorff with a boot to the gut that stuns Tony Atlas. Orndorff follows that up with a running elbow to the head. Atlas comes back and tries a big clothesline, and he nailed the big clothesline on Paul Orndorff. He got all of that one, and Orndorff goes down to his feet, down to the mat. Orndorff tries to get to his feet, and he gets nailed with another big roundhouse by Tony Atlas. Atlas firing those roundhouse punches. Orndorff fires back with a back elbow smash. Orndorff now taking the offensive. Another big vertical suplex slams Tony Atlas onto the canvas. Atlas getting to his feet. Orndorff's on him again. Another brutal knee lift. Orndorff delivering all kinds of punishment with those knees. And now another big vertical suplex, but Atlas will just not stay down. Both these men determined to outdo one another here tonight. And another brutal knee lift by Paul Orndorff right to the sternum of Tony Atlas, and that puts Atlas down on his back. Orndorff is now going to go for a big back suplex, and again driving Tony Atlas into the mat. Orndorff's had him set up but cannot finish him off, as now another big vertical suplex is going to send Atlas crashing to the canvas and rolling out of the ring and down to the arena floor. And this time it is Orndorff with a big move on the arena floor, an Irish whip into the barricade, over the barricade, and into the crowd. Tony Atlas may be counted out here on a roll of 3 or lower, but he is able to get back to the ring on a count of 7, and the match will continue. Paul Orndorff still in control and going to keep things out of the ring. We'll not see any shenanigans as of yet. We'll just see Orndorff continuing to dish out punishment, now dropping Atlas stomach first across the steel security railing. Orndorff in control now as they come back to the center of the ring, and finally Orndorff's got him set up for the jumping pile driver. The pin roll here is 6, and on a roll of 4 he got him. So a very competitive match, back and forth both men, before Paul Orndorff gets the victory with the jumping pile driver to defeat Tony Atlas here tonight in Orlando. And as we mentioned at the top of this match, it will now be Paul Orndorff versus Blackjack Mulligan for a shot at the Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. As we welcome in Al, Red Sox fan and alternate timeline sports, to the chat room here tonight in the Dave Cave. Thank you both for tuning in. It's Atlantic Wrestling Federation action live from Orlando on this lovely Sunday night. My wife's birthday was this weekend, and also my son's. So today we drove over to Milwaukee, about an hour and a half up the road, and we saw a Broadway-style production of the musical Wicked. And gosh, did we enjoy that. Never seen Wicked before, and it was just very cleverly written and very well performed. So enjoyed our afternoon in Milwaukee with my lovely bride and my wonderful son, and a good afternoon at the theater. Now I got to get all that cultured theater crap out of my system. It's time for some wrestling, as we say hi to Mighty Mike here in the chat room. And ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is a tag team matchup scheduled for one fall with a 45-minute time limit. Disqualification rules will be in effect. This is a number 1 contenders match for the Atlantic Tag Team Championship. Those belts currently held by the duo of Mr. Fuji and Mr. Saito. And they will next defend the titles against the winners of this matchup. That title defense will take place next month at our upcoming Hype Show, to be held on September 13th. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, one fall, disqualification rules will be in effect. Introducing first team number 1 out of Boston, Massachusetts, standing at 6'4", weighing 255 pounds. This is John Cronus. And his tag team partner also hails from Boston, Massachusetts. He stands at 5'10", weighs 233 pounds. This is Perry Saturn, collectively known as the Eliminators. So a couple of rough, tough dudes from Al Red Sox fans' neck of the woods. Saturn and Kronos had a very solid run in ECW back in the day. These are bootlegs which were produced, I believe, by Barry Walsh, summer of 2024. And their opponents Introducing first from Springfield, Tennessee, he stands at 6'2" and weighs 236 pounds. This is Tracy Smothers. And his tag team partner hails from Hendersonville, Tennessee. Standing at 6'3", weighing 238 pounds, this is Wildfire Tommy Rich. So the wild-eyed Southern boys, Tommy Rich and Tracy Smothers, to take on the Eliminators with a tag team title match awaiting the winners. So big match here tonight in Orlando, and it will be Tommy Rich starting things off against John Cronus for the respective duos. And it will be Cronus who takes the opening advantage and comes out with a forearm smash to Tommy Rich. Rich stunned by that blow, and Cronus is going to try and take advantage now with a whip to the turnbuckle. Off the turnbuckle comes Tommy Rich, and on a roll of 6, it is Rich reversing that whip to the turnbuckle, sending Cronus into the corner, and now Rich charges into the corner after Cronus, but Cronus cleverly ducks out of the way, and that sends Rich crashing into the steel. That's not good for Tommy Rich. And quickly, Cronus is going to go for a cover on a roll of snake eyes. Tommy Rich is able to kick out of that. Cronus capitalizing on that situation very quickly. And now it is going to be the total elimination. The Eliminators going right to their finish here from the jump. The pin roll here would be 5, and on a roll of 8, Tommy Wildfire Rich again able to kick out. But the Eliminators off to a quick start here. Tag team chemistry indeed between these two men, and now it is a missile headbutt delivered by Perry Saturn that stuns Tommy Rich. Saturn maintains the offensive and hits a big super kick. Perry Saturn, well trained in the martial arts, nails that super kick, and now it's another double team move from the Eliminators, a combination backbreaker knee drop, and that is an add 1 maneuver for the Eliminators. That's going to bring Cronus back into the ring, and that's going to that's 3 points of fatigue on Tommy Rich. So we're going to see Tracy Smothers try to intervene on behalf of his partner, having suffered the 3 fatigue tokens. We go to the tag team interference chart, and on a roll of 3, Smothers gets the job done. He stuns John Cronus. The referee refuses to count the pin, as Tracy Smothers was in the ring illegally, but he was able to nail John Cronus with a jumping wheel kick as Cronus was trying to make the cover. Cronus takes a point of fatigue. Tommy Wildfire Rich takes over on offense. So very alert intervention there by Tracy Smothers as his partner Tommy Rich was in some trouble. And now it is Rich in control. And action is quickly going to spill out of the ring to the surprise of no one. Rich and Cronus, both A-rated brawlers, and on a roll of 11, it is Tommy Rich winning the brawl with the use of a foreign object. It is the ring mic. Tommy Rich has just nailed John Cronus with the ring mic. Will we see him disqualified? Maybe. One more roll of 5 or lower, and that's it. But the referee decides to give some leeway. And the match will continue as the referee herds Tommy Rich back into the ring. Cronus getting back into the ring, and Tommy's going right to the Thez press. The pin roll here would be a 4, and Cronus able to kick out. And now Tommy is going to make the tag to his partner Tracy Smothers. Smothers into the ring now for the first time, taking advantage on Cronus with a big elbow drop. Cronus slowly trying to get to his feet. Tracy Smothers is on him. He's going to try for a clothesline. This is a choice F maneuver, choice F. So he will need a 6 or lower to hit the attempted clothesline. And on a roll of 7, Cronus ducks out of the way of the clothesline, and it is Cronus instead with a whip to the ropes. Tracy Smothers comes off the ropes and dumps John Cronus with a running shoulder tackle. Smothers back in control. Smothers now with another jumping wheel kick. Cronus desperately trying to get over and make the tag, unable to do so. Smothers now with a chance to do some more damage here, dropping the elbow. Cronus rolls out of the way of the elbow, and Cronus now hits a big clothesline that stuns Tracy Smothers. Finally, Cronus able to make the tag to Perry Saturn, the two fresh men in the ring for their respective teams, as Perry Saturn comes into the ring and attempts a clothesline of his own. He will need 7 or lower to hit that, and he nails Tracy Smothers with that clothesline. And Tracy Smothers is stunned. Saturn's on him. A brainbuster. Again, Smothers slowly getting to his feet as Saturn stays on him. And this time a big body slam by Perry Saturn slams Tracy Smothers down to the canvas. Saturn's going to follow that up. He's going up top for a death jump. Death jump attempt coming up here by Saturn. And on a roll of 7, it is a flying clothesline off of the top turnbuckle that drills Tracy Smothers. He is down once again. And Saturn with a slingshot back suplex that takes Smothers down to the canvas. Smothers finally able to roll over and make the tag to his partner Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich coming in, fists and fire. Going to attempt an airplane spin on Perry Saturn. He'll need 7 or lower to hit that. Saturn comes out the back door of the airplane spin, and instead it is Saturn with a big body slam. Both men getting to their feet. They come together in the center of the ring, and it is Tommy Rich with a whip to the ropes. Off the ropes comes Saturn, and on a roll of 8, Tommy Rich nails Perry Saturn with a running back elbow. Quickly, Rich going to tag Tracy Smothers back into the ring as Smothers comes in and goes to work on Perry Saturn. Again, an attempt at a clothesline. This time he connects. And he's going to go for a quick cover on Perry Saturn. The pin roll here would be 3. And on a roll of 9, Perry Saturn able to kick out. So Tracy Smothers now in control against Perry Saturn. Drops the elbow. Saturn getting to his feet as Smothers stays on him with a shoulder block. A running shoulder block off of the ropes. Saturn standing his ground. They're going nose to nose in the center of the ring now, and it is Saturn delivering a series of clubbing forearms. Smothers fires right back with an arm trap belly to belly that takes Saturn down to the canvas hard. Good move there by Tracy Smothers to put Saturn down. Smothers back in control with another jumping wheel kick. He has been devastating with that kick here tonight. A looping right hand delivered by Smothers as Saturn gets to his feet. Saturn finally able to make the tag to his partner Cronus. And Cronus will come out against Tracy Smothers. And it is Cronus going to attempt an overhead belly to belly. This is a choice D maneuver. So he will need a 9 or lower to hit that. And he nails that overhead belly to belly. And now it's Cronus putting the cover on Tracy Smothers, and Smothers kicks out. So all 4 men now have absorbed fatigue. Cronus in control against Tracy Smothers, and he is going to take things out of the ring. And down to the arena floor. On the arena floor, it will be Cronus winning the brawl. And a diving clothesline off of the ring apron from Cronus onto Smothers. Puts Smothers down. Cronus stays on him now, twisting, senton, and a cover. He goes for the pin, and on a roll of 7, Smothers able to kick out. But now it is Cronus taking control. Cronus with another twisting senton that stuns Tracy Smothers. What's Cronus going to do here? He is going to go for a Hurricane Cronus. And again, Smothers is stunned. And now Saturn is in the ring. We're going to see a double team. And on a roll of 8, it is a deadly elbow smash delivered by Perry Saturn onto Tracy Smothers as the Eliminators maintain control. Now Saturn with a super kick. He got all of that one. Saturn going for the cover. And Smothers able to kick out. But now Smothers has hit that 3rd point of fatigue. The Wild-Eyed Southern boys down to their very last pin save as Saturn hits a slingshot back suplex onto Smothers. Can Smothers make the tag? No, he cannot. Saturn stays on him now, and it is a double team move by the Eliminators. A backbreaker knee drop combo. That's an add 1 move. Smothers now at 4 points of fatigue. Saturn going for, Cronus now the legal man in the ring. He is going to go up for a 450 splash, and he nails that. Tracy Smothers desperately crawling over to try and make the tag, unable to get there. Cronus maintains control. Cronus going up for a death jump, trying to finish off Smothers here on a roll of 10. That is the agility rating. The agility is equal for both men, so Cronus knocks Smothers off of the top turnbuckle and down to the canvas. Cronus still in control here. And now he is going to pitch Tracy Smothers out of the ring and down to the arena floor. And on the arena floor, it's Cronus with a cannonball off the ring apron. Throwing caution to the wind is John Cronus. Smothers now crawling back into the ring. Double team attempt for the Eliminators. And it is a devastating double team move delivered by the Eliminators, and that's going to cost Smothers another point of fatigue. He is up to 5 points of fatigue now. Saturn in the ring and in control. Slingshot back suplex keeps Smothers on the canvas. Saturn stays on him. He's going to go for the death jump, and he nails the death jump off the top rope. Tommy Rich has no choice at this point but to try and intervene on behalf of his partner. So again, we go to the tag team interference chart, and again, it is success for Tommy Rich. Tommy Rich now coming into the ring. And Tommy Rich dumps Perry Saturn with a pile driver. Saturn is down. Rich going to go for a finish here, another vertical suplex. He's going to go for the cover. The pin roll is 5, and on a roll of 5, he may get him. We're going to have to get a pin save from Saturn, from Cronus, and Cronus unable to get there. So just like that, a remarkable comeback as Tommy Rich and Tracy Smothers get the victory over the Eliminators in a very surprising outcome, as Saturn and Cronus seemed to have that one all but under control. They destroyed Tracy Smothers. Tommy Rich finally was able to come to the rescue of his partner and hit a big pile driver for the win on Perry Saturn. So we have new #1 contenders for the Atlantic Tag Team Championship. Congratulations to the team of the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, Tracy Smothers and Tommy Rich, as they will move to next month's pay-per-view to take on Mr. Fuji and Mr. Saito for the Atlantic Tag Team Championship. All right, very good match there for both sides. But in the end, it was Rich and Smothers coming out with the victory. All right, we are ready for our next matchup. Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for one fall with no disqualification. This is a grudge match. And this grudge match stems from the 2025 Hall of Fame Championship Tournament that took place last month on July the 19th. A opening round matchup which ended in disqualification between these two men, leading to tonight's grudge match. Introducing first, out of Nice, France. He stands at 6 foot tall. He weighs 236 pounds. This is RENE GOULET. And his opponent hails from Chicago, Illinois. He stands at 6'3" and weighs 252 pounds. This is Leo NOMELLINI. So Leo NOMELLINI against RENE GOULET. This was a first round match in the Hall of Fame tournament. And it was expected to be a pretty one-sided contest with NOMELLINI the prohibitive favorite. But RENE GOULET certainly held his own. And action spilled outside of the ring, where RENE GOULET clamped on the scorpion claw hold onto NOMELLINI and refused to let go even after the referee put the count on him. Goulet was disqualified for that, and NOMELLINI, in fact, went on to win the tournament. But he has not forgotten what took place at the hands of Rene Goulet and that Scorpion Claw hold. So they are going to meet here tonight in Orlando. As NOMELLINI holding a grudge and Goulet still trying to make a name for himself. I never saw either of these guys actually wrestle. Actually, I did see Rene Goulet. When I finally first encountered Rene Goulet, it was probably the mid-'80s in the WWF. And he was working as one of the agents. And he was always the guy who would come to the ring and try to break up the fights. And we got a good laugh out of Rene Goulet. He always had the suit on, and he was always pulling and tugging on guys and getting knocked around. He did have a few matches. This was later in his career, but he was simply an enhancement talent at that point in time. But looking back, he did have a very successful run as a tag team competitor. And, not to be taken lightly is Rene Goulet, in spite of the way things went down at the end of his career. And he was often portrayed as a patsy, just a helpless guy in a suit trying to break up fights at ringside. In fact, we used to cheer, "Where's Rene Goulet when you need him?" whenever things went wrong. But Goulet certainly acquitted himself nicely against NOMELLINI in the tournament. And now we are going to see these two go at it again here tonight in Orlando in a no disqualification situation. And it is going to be Goulet taking the offense right from the beginning with a whip to the turnbuckle. Off the turnbuckle comes NOMELLINI, and a running back elbow by Goulet stuns Leo NOMELLINI. Goulet looking to capitalize with a big clothesline. NOMELLINI will not go down. He's got about 15 pounds on Goulet, but Goulet is going to go with a big vertical suplex now. Goulet quickly goes to the cover, and NOMELLINI kicks out. Goulet looking to make a name for himself at the expense, and now out of the ring we go. As NOMELLINI and Goulet back to the arena floor, and it is Goulet winning the brawl on the arena floor with a throat drop onto the security railing. That is nasty. Rene Goulet taking no prisoners here. You call me a patsy, I'll show you. And now the Scorpion Claw has been applied. Will NOMELLINI submit to the claw? He will not, but just barely. NOMELLINI able to survive that deadly Scorpion Claw hold. Rene Goulet showing no mercy. And now it is Goulet going up for a death jump. This ought to be an action-packed moment. Both these men C-rated death jumpers. And on a roll of 9, that is the agility roll. The agility advantage belongs to Rene Goulet. And he is able to knock NOMELLINI off of the top turnbuckle and down to the canvas. Rene Goulet back in control. Now going for a running elbow drop that scores on NOMELLINI. And yes, indeed, NOMELLINI was a football star for the 49ers before getting into the wrestling world. And Mighty Mike, I see your question there, and I will get to you at the end of the match as Goulet again pitches NOMELLINI out of the ring and down to the arena floor. But this time NOMELLINI is ready for him. And it is Leo NOMELLINI with a clothesline off of the ring apron that stuns Rene Goulet. NOMELLINI went through Rene Goulet like a quarterback sack there. And NOMELLINI now takes control, and he goes for the flying tackle. That's his finisher. The pin roll is 4, and on a roll of 8, Goulet able to survive. But NOMELLINI now with the momentum, and he takes things out of the ring. It is breaking down here, but Goulet is going to win the brawl this time with a cannonball off of the ring apron. Both these men just pulling out all the stops, and now the Scorpion Claw hold has been applied once again. The submission roll 6 or lower, and on a roll of 9, NOMELLINI again barely able to survive. Leo NOMELLINI holding on with all he's got as that devastating Scorpion Claw hold takes everything out of him. And now a double foot stomp by Goulet. Goulet follows that up with a big clothesline, and NOMELLINI is down once again. Rene Goulet with a running elbow drop. NOMELLINI slowly getting to his feet. Goulet on him with a whip to the ropes. Now off the ropes comes Leo NOMELLINI. And this time it is NOMELLINI with a running shoulder tackle that takes Goulet down to the canvas. NOMELLINI now with a whip to the ropes. And coming off the ropes this time, NOMELLINI sets his head a little too soon, and that's going to cost him a vicious elbow to the back of the head. NOMELLINI slumping to his knees, and now the claw hold has been applied yet again. The submission roll here is 7, and on a roll of 6, he got him. How about that, ladies and gentlemen? Rene Goulet, by way of the Scorpion claw hold, has defeated Leo NOMELLINI here in Orlando. And that's got to get Rene Goulet some attention, as he has taken down the champion of the Hall of Fame tournament with the Scorpion claw hold. So we'll see what becomes of Rene Goulet, as NOMELLINI, the hottest free agent in the business, but Goulet now has made a name for himself at the expense of NOMELLINI. And you got to think that some faction or some territory with an open contract available is watching this match very closely indeed. The Flying Frenchman with the win. Holy cow. Does Barry have any more bootlegs? If so, how do I get in touch with him? Barry Walsh is on Facebook, so if you're on Facebook, I can point you in his direction. He is also on the Filsinger Games message board, so I can point you in that direction as well. Barry produces pretty good bootlegs, and he puts them out, I think, 2, 3, 4 times a year. And he does it on a donation basis, and all of the proceeds go to support the Tragos Thesz Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. In fact, Barry was honored at the Hall of Fame ceremony this year for all of the fundraising that he has done for that fine organization. So, Mighty Mike, I don't know if you're on Facebook or on the Filsinger Games message boards. That's those are the ways that I know to get in touch with Barry Walsh. Good dude. And I don't know if he keeps an inventory of his bootlegs or if he only produces what he takes pre-orders for in his fundraising efforts for the museum. All right, and with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for our main event of the evening. This contest is scheduled for one fall with a 60-minute time limit. Disqualification rules will be in effect. This is a rematch for the Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. Championship dice are now in play. Introducing first the challenger. Out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, he stands at 6'5" and weighs 289 pounds. He is a former Atlantic Heavyweight Champion. This is Terry Bam Bam Gordy. And his opponent is your reigning and defending Atlantic Heavyweight Champion out of Kings Lynn, England. He stands at 6'4" and weighs 242 pounds. He is the national treasure, Nick Aldis. I've said it before, I'll say it again. I love me some Nick Aldis. Just such a presence on Friday Night SmackDown. Such a great, commanding presence. He's, big, broad, handsome guy, square shoulders, square jaw, looks great, very articulate on the microphone, cuts a great promo in a suit, but also he can go in the ring. And I would love to see him get some ring time in the WWE during his run. And Terry Gordy, of course, the late great member of the Fabulous Freebirds, has been wrestling this go round in the Atlantic Wrestling Federation, more on the babyface side of things. He had a run as tag team champions with Michael Hayes. When Hayes left that partnership, Gordy turned over a new leaf, relocated from Texas out to his home territory out in the Atlantic region, and is now the favorite of the crowds here in Florida to regain the title from Nick Aldis as they come together in the center of the ring. And it will be Aldis with the initiative off of the opening roll, hitting a double axe handle. The agility between these men is even. Gordy, of course, with the strength advantage as Aldis moves in with a knee to the back. Gordy getting back to his feet. They come together in the center of the ring, and a knife-edge chop by Nick Aldis, and that was a mistake. Gordy didn't take kindly to that at all, as Gordy, a big mountain of a man, just hits a knee smash to the midsection of Aldis, and now they're going toe-to-toe in the center of the ring. A wrist lock applied, attempted by Nick Aldis. Gordy not having any of that, and Gordy instead with a big elbow hammer that stuns Nick Aldis right on the top of the head. Gordy with that elbow smash, and Aldis now shaking his head side to side, trying to regain his bearings, as Gordy hits him with another elbow hammer. And Gordy drives another knee to the gut. Aldis finally able to fire back, and he again goes to the wrist lock. Aldis holding that wrist lock in the center of the ring. What's he going to do now? He maintains the wrist lock. Gordy able to reverse that, and Gordy coming back with a whip to the ropes, and oh, Lord, Gordy just nailed Nick Aldis with a massive lariat. Those big ham hocks of Terry Gordy across the neck of Aldis. Aldis is stunned by that, and Gordy back in control. What's he going to do here? He is going to hit a big forearm smash across the chest. Aldis fires back with a whip to the ropes. Off the ropes comes Terry Gordy, and on a roll of 11, it is a big high back body drop by Nick Aldis that puts Gordy flat down onto the canvas. Aldis now goes to the cloverleaf. He's going to try for a submission this early in the match. He's going to need a roll of 4 or lower. And on a roll of 5, Gordy just able to escape and get to the bottom rope. Aldis with that cloverleaf. Very dangerous submission move. And that's where Aldis is going to earn his keep against Terry Gordy, because I don't think he's going to go punch for punch with Gordy, but Aldis and his technical skill could potentially come out on top, and now Gordy is out of the ring and down to the arena floor. But on a roll of 7, it's going to be Aldis winning the brawl on the arena floor with a pile driver onto the ring steps. That wasn't very nice. And Gordy is now stunned by that, as Aldis is going to go back to the cloverleaf. He pulls Gordy back into the ring. Submission roll now 5 or lower, and on a roll of 5, he got him. How about that? Nick Aldis taking care of business against Terry Bam Bam Gordy tonight. Aldis by submission with the King's Lynn Cloverleaf successfully retains the Atlantic Heavyweight Championship. So congratulations to your winner and still Atlantic Heavyweight Champion Nick Aldis. So Aldis will move on to the pay-per-view. The next pay-per-view, we don't do pay-per-views anymore. It's called a Hype Show, and it's going to be on September 13th in New Orleans. Heartland Havoc 130, One Last Ride. So it will be Aldis defending his title in that show against the winner of the match between Blackjack Mulligan and Paul Orndorff. And of course, Mulligan and Orndorff no strangers to one another. So that'll be a good title defense for Nick Aldis in New Orleans next month. And that is going to wrap things up here tonight. Nick lays the boom on Bam Bam, says Al Red Sox fan. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Good crowd. Al Red Sox fan, Mighty Mo. Alternate Timeline Sports. And again, Mighty Mo, let me know if you want me to try and put you in touch with Barry either on Facebook or the Filsinger Games message board. I don't think I have an email on Barry, although I might if I have his PayPal. So yeah, that's how you can find Barry. Neil Lau was here, Kathy Evans, Jay Randis. Good crowd tonight. Good banter in the chat room. Thank you one and all for tuning in tonight. And thank you, Kathy, for the kind words as we sign off. We will be back on the channel. Hopefully, get a midweek update in this week, probably on Thursday night. I'll post a recap of the midweek shows, and of course next Saturday, back on the channel with another full episode of Heartland Championship Wrestling. And until then, thank you all for tuning in. That's our stream, and I am out of here.